What was the best relationship advice you ever got? Never take each other for granted. Show appreciation often. This. Very simple. I've been married 17 years. My wife and I always try to say please and thank you every time I take out the trash or she comes home from the store. This is great. I just want to add that it's worth remembering not everyone feels appreciation through words. Find what makes your spouse feel appreciated, whether it's actions or gifts, etc. I'm going through a separation/divorce and this is advice I can swear by. We were both terrible partners to each other, in a vicious cycle of being shitty to each other because the other was shitty. Ad infinitum. Never worked on our relationship. Took each other for granted. Hopefully, I will have the opportunity to do things better. You know what took me a long-ass time to realize? When I disagreed with anyone, I used to put active internal effort into building up a caricature of the person I was talking to and apply all the worst intents possible to their motive and position. The problem is I'm stuck with the imaginary person I made up well after the disagreement is over. A whole world full of terrible people I made up just for me. It's so transparent now I can see how many people fall into the same trap I set for myself. In bad relationships, it's on steroids. I love the quote, "I don't want you to save me, but you can hold my hand while I save myself." Support with respect is key. From Russian doll. Alan, you promise that if I don't jump, I will be happy. Nadia, no, man, absolutely not. But I can promise you that you will not be alone. I love find someone who wants you, not someone who needs you. There is no reason to keep score. You are both on the same team. If one or both of you starts keeping score with things, it is time to evaluate the state of the relationship and why this is occurring. On a related note, all problems can be solved, but not all problems are worth solving. Similarly, you should always feel like you're doing more than half the work, partially because this way you know you're not freeloading off of your partner's work, and partially because your partner probably does 100 things a week that you don't see and may not even notice. Simple stuff like wiping out the sink, dusting a surface, etc. Be a steward of your shared spaces so your partner doesn't have to do it all on their own. I think the notion you're getting at is more complicated because a lot of not keeping score scenarios can easily turn into disparities for what each person gives in the relationship and potentially concealing resentment. My wife used to have a big problem saying I didn't do enough chores. Every time she brought it up, I could name a dozen things I'd done recently. Her response was, "But you're not consistent." She seemed to mostly just be factoring in how much she perceived when she worked, and she perceives 100% of the work she does and only work she noticed I had done, which is less than 100% if I do the dishes after she falls asleep, put down insecticide in the garage, or take care of the baby while she works overtime. Then these kinds of things tend to not get noticed very accurately. We didn't work out because of her leading a long-distance double life with another man. But I'm trying to learn anything I can from that whole debacle so that I'm not bringing any dysfunction on my part into the next marriage. I think keeping a reasonably accurate, but more importantly cooperative, account of who does what and who is paying for what is actually very important. It's when diving out chores or paying bills is done combatively that you have a problem. When you are doing it cooperatively, then it's good communication that leads to better equity of work and finances. Less, you don't do anything around the house, you are a bad spouse and need to do better. And more, I do 70% of the chores and I'd like to sit down with you to try to figure out how to do this more evenly. Keep in mind that you are not fighting against your so during conflicts. You and your so are up against the issue. Prioritize trust and build a strong foundation of it. If the grass is greener on the other side, try watering yours. Or, be aware that the grass only looks greener because there's bullshit underneath. Be each other's biggest supporter and cheerleader. This is an excellent one. After my sister got in a big fight with her BF, my dad told her relationships require honesty, not cruelty. You don't need to tell your guy that you noticed the 10 pounds he put on and now find him less attractive as a result. He is aware and there is absolutely no reason whatsoever to voice it. Discuss life goals, especially kids and financial habits, before you get married. If one person wants 6 kids and the other wants to be childless, that's not going to work. If one person has champagne tastes and spending habits but you as a couple have a boxed wine budget, then that is a problem. More than one marriage has been ended because one spouse is bad with money and refuses to live within their means. Second, on the kids thing, if you disagree, don't push it off as a future issue. It will make it worse. Resentment will build as you know what will inevitably happen. Sure, you can compromise on the amount possibly, but you can't compromise with 0. I'll never forget. I was dating wifey and on date 2 she turns to me and says, "Can we talk serious?" Me, sure. My mind is racing like the fuck, man. It's date 2. She isn't into you, dude. I like you a lot. Like a real lot. I can see our relationship going deeper, but I don't fucking do kids. Never have. Never will. I'm not interested in crotch fruit. I hope you can handle that. If you can't or you think for half a millisecond I'll change my mind, I suggest you leave and we can pretend we never met. Me, okay, but what if I don't want kids either? Good. I was hoping you'd say that. And here we are 10 years later. 0 kiddos, or crotch fruit as she calls it. A partner is the cherry on top of a cake. The cake is your responsibility. Translation: a good partner can make you happier in life but can never make you happy. It is your own responsibility to have a happy and fulfilling life. The inverse is a little different. A bad partner can ruin your happiness, but it is your own responsibility to not let a bad cherry ruin your cake, not let a bad partner ruin your happiness. I'd give it's considered relationship advice, but when I was around 14 and had my first serious relationship, I went to go see my girl in the evening. Before I went out the door, my dad stopped me and said, "Son, there's one thing that you should know, and after I tell you I'll shut up about it. If a girl says no, that means no." I felt really awkward cause it seemed obvious and I felt like my dad saw me as an idiot. 10 years later I still think about that moment and what my dad said, and I feel so proud of him for pointing out something that is really important. I feel like simple advice like that is not given often enough. It takes a hell of a partner to beat no partner at all. Vet carefully and with a clear head. Does this person add to your life? Is being with them an improvement over your regular, solo life? Or are they an effort to be around, to accommodate? Ooh yeah, I'm at the I'd rather be alone for the rest of my days than be with you stage. It's simultaneously empowering and disturbing. I'm at the even after you have turned everyone that I know, save for family and a couple of my oldest friends, against me. I would still choose this over staying married to you. Being single sucks. Being in a toxic relationship is so much worse. Don't look for a relationship just for the sake of being in a relationship. This one is always hard to explain. My now wife and I just started out hanging out with each other in college and kept it very casual, and it just ended up building up into the relationship we have now. It sucks to hear if you're single, but the best relationships are the ones that form organically because you aren't actively trying to keep the other's interest. You already have it. Make time. You'll always have 1,000,001 things that need your attention. But if you're going to be with someone, start a family with them. Make time for them. My dad, who is still very much in love with my mom, who isn't really feeling it anymore because she's spent the last 35 years married to a workaholic farmer. That relationships are so hard, or marriage takes so much work, is terrible advice. Relationships take effort and maintenance and mindfulness. But it shouldn't be work. It's a garden, not a salt mine. If literally everything is an uphill struggle all the time, you're not compatible. Move on. All relationships are so hard. Y'all, teaches people is to stay in relationships that are bad for them. Get therapy and find healthy partners. And definitely don't have kids if your relationship is already, OMG, so hard. Thank you for staying with us all this time. If you enjoyed the video, please support us by clicking the like button and subscribing to our channel. Your comments and suggestions are always welcome. See you in the next video.